Of the many unfair critiques lobbied at Bernie Sanders and his campaign in 2016, I think one of the more maybe fair critiques is that his campaign was too white and too male. But for 2020, he has made some serious changes. This campaign has shown real growth for 2020. This staff that he has is incredibly diverse, and I'm going to go through several of the hires here. So first off, let's start with what I think is maybe the most important position, and that's campaign manager. So Bernie's campaign manager for 2020 is Faz Shakir. He is a 39-year-old Muslim American and the first Muslim American manager of a major presidential campaign. Now, here's what Paste magazine had to say about him. An alum of Harvard and Georgetown Law, Shakir started off his political career with a 7-year stint as vice president of the Center for American Progress, where he made a name for himself as editor-in-chief of Think Progress. Shakir saw CAP grow into a central liberal policy institution and established himself as a top progressive mind at Think Progress before moving on to more direct political endeavors. Shakir handled policy and communications work for Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid and served as senior advisor and director of digital media for Nancy Pelosi before cementing himself as the national political director of the American Civil Liberties Union. Needless to say, his reputation precedes him as a top civil rights advocate and liberal mind in Washington. He's renowned for his abilities as a grassroots organizer, known as a shrewd political operative who's memorized the modern political advocacy playbook, and cherry on top, was once called a fucker by centrist Clintonite and CAP co-worker Neera Tanden. Now, I also want to show you this clip when he was on MSNBC a couple of years ago discussing the nationwide voting rights project that he was pushing at the ACLU.
Well, so first, Joy, Congress has been dysfunctional. We have a lot of great ideas to make our national voting laws better, but none of them are going to pass through Kansas. And so you have to do it at the state level. Now, doing it at the state level is super complicated because every state has different laws. And there are few organizations like the ACLU who have 50 state affiliates, and quite frankly, we have the resources now, so we're well positioned, thanks to the support of the general public, thank you, that we're now able to execute this kind of complicated nationwide grassroots call to action. That's the only way you could do it. The only way is to have each state being able to execute their top voting rights priority. So as you mentioned, in Florida, we're going to try to restore the rights of ex-felon. That's 1.5 million people who've been denied their right to vote because they've been an ex-felon who've paid their debt to society and haven't been afforded a second chance. So we're going to try to do signature gathering to get onto the ballot and then hopefully get 60% plus in November 2018 to rectify that injustice.
And guess what? They did. They got the voting rights for ex-felons in Florida. So all I'm saying is this guy's pretty successful with what he did at ACLU. Maybe he'll also be successful with Bernie's campaign. Something to think about. Now, I want to show you also some more hires. So this from The Atlantic. Ana Lilia Mejia, an organizer of Colombian and Dominican descent who most recently directed the Fight for 15 and Earned Sick Days campaigns in New Jersey and previously worked for the New Jersey Working Families Party, will be the political director. The deputy political director will be Sarah Badawi, who was most recently the government affairs director for the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, a liberal group that led the effort to draft Elizabeth Warren into the 2012 Senate race and later worked on her campaign. All right. So far, we have an incredibly diverse set of hires. There's no white men here, but most importantly, all of these people have a strong background in progressive political activism and have been successful in their pursuits. Now, I also want to share even more hires. So Bernie Sanders tweeted this out today. To defeat Trump, we must build a team prepared to fight for economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. That's exactly why Nina Turner, Ro Khanna, Carmen Julene Cruz, and Ben Cohen have been doing their entire lives. I'm excited to announce them as campaign co-chairs. So this is great. I mean, I've tried to find the line between Bernie Sanders supporter and YouTube political commentary, but I mean, I've already endorsed Bernie. I support Bernie for 2020. These hires show you some real growth from 2016. Now, I mean, we have Nina Turner, so she was on the campaign last time in 2016, but of course she's the president of our revolution. I think Nina was the most important surrogate that Bernie Sanders had in 2016. Ro Khanna, a congressman from California, has been on the front lines of progressive legislation and also a Justice Democrat. Carmen Yulín Cruz was the San Juan mayor in Puerto Rico, obviously was on TV fighting back against what Trump was doing, or the the lack of what Trump was doing in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. And we have Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's, who I really didn't know much about, but I did some research and found out that Ben & Jerry's, I mean, I kind of knew this, but Ben & Jerry's is incredibly engaged in activism. So they actually have a corporate activism manager. And in 2006, Ben Cohen and Jerry Grenfell were leading the company's American Pie campaign, designed to persuade consumers to demand a change in spending priorities. Their goal was to shift $13 billion that now pays to maintain thousands of nuclear bombs into pediatric health insurance, schools, or other programs for kids. So that's just one example of Ben Cohen's activism, but Ben & Jerry's, of course, was also involved in Bernie Sanders and his campaign in 2016. So you put all this together, you have an incredibly diverse staff of strong fighters. These are leaders in progressive activism and progressive policy. They have shown not only fight, but the ability to be successful in those fights. So when you put this all together, I mean, this campaign is going to be unstoppable.